Rivals could use more villains, and I think Green Goblin is a great place to start with this. As to specifically like which version of Green Goblin, Norman, Harry Osborn, I don't think it matters too much. I think the devs could really cook in keeping that identity, that portion of it, a secret. The identity of it is kind of inconsequential. I mean, it might help with dialogue stuff, but I think that keeping the mystery there might be part of the fun and lead to some pretty fun interactions too. But as for the actual way he plays out, I just wanted to throw out a little idea I've been spitballing. I love Goblin, and I think he might be the perfect kind of counter to Spider-Man and these DPS that kind of dive the back line, and also an answer to some crowd control that I think Marvel Rivals is kind of in need of. So just getting into it, the first skill I have here is his jump. That would kind of be his descent. I'm thinking for his movement, he would have free reign. He would be a momentum-based character, kind of moving in whichever direction you input. The camera controlling, whether you ascend or descend, and then that jump key could kind of help you descend just a little bit more immediately in those situations where you need it. Getting into the passive, it'd be called Parting Gift. Blades would emerge from the front of the glider, dealing small damage to any targets they pass through, while his thruster ability or his ultimate are active. And this would also knock back opponents slightly as well. So this is great for crowd control, this is great for kind of displacing people, moving them around wherever you need to, which again is in character for him. He's got the blades in his glider in a lot of media anyway, and I think in most of his appearances. And then the second part of Parting Gift would be on death, the glider would spin out of control and deal a small burst of AoE damage to enemies. And again, this is just something, he frequently loses control of this. It'll home back to him, if he is knocked off of it, usually in media. But for this appearance, I'm thinking he'd strictly stay on the glider. I think that's kind of a unique way to approach him. And Marvel Rivals, again, has enough verticality to where you could take him out, a Hawkeye in the back line, a Spider-Man fighting this guy midair. Oh, it'd be so much fun. Getting into his primary, it's kind of a toss-up here. I couldn't decide between the pumpkin bombs or the goblin sparks. And for those of you who don't know, the goblin sparks are those lasers that he shoots out of his fingers. I don't know if they're called that in the Spectacular Spider-Man and the other cartoons he's in, but I'll throw some on the screen right now. He does do it, and they kind of serve the same purpose. I'm tossing it up between pumpkin bomb and goblin sparks, honestly, because Goblin Sparks is the deeper cut, which I feel like the Rivals devs would go for, and it'd be some good, older representation. The Pumpkin Bombs, they're just classic. They're this signature weapon he's always got. I don't think you could really go wrong with the Pumpkin Bombs either. I put down here 7 of them. Throwable Pumpkin Bombs, they explode in a small AoE on impact. Or they explode with the first target they contact. They cannot headshot, and they would be able to harm the goblin himself. So that would kind of encourage you to keep your distance, but again, not go too far if you do want to get those direct hits, even though they wouldn't headshot. I think 7 is a good amount. I think that's not too annoying. I think this game kind of does need a Pharah, somebody who can deny those areas, get you that big explosive area damage. And I feel like there aren't too many of those in the game as of yet. And again, this is interchangeable, so he could either have the Pumpkin Bomb or the Goblin Sparks. They kind of do the same thing, in all honesty. I just think it's kind of more interesting to give him the Goblin Sparks, and you could definitely make it a lot more telegraphed to the opponents, and I think that's a lot more fair, especially with a guy that does kind of want to hang out on the back line there. The second ability I got here is his first ability, technically. His gas bomb. It would be 3 throwable bombs that restock on a cooldown, and they'd explode into a medium-sized AoE that deals small but constant damage that fades after a few seconds. Kind of think of Cloak and Dagger's little area that they throw up with their ult, but he'd be able to display or throw these 3 bombs and kind of leave these little smoke clouds wherever he chooses. He can cluster them up, he could set them up in a straight line if he wants to. And then I did have here, he can have up to 3 gas clouds out at a time. Throwing a 4th will cause the oldest gas cloud to vanish. So that way you can't just be spamming it consistently. Yes, you do need area denial, but again, you do run the risk of getting a little bit too out of control if you do have too much of it on the field at one time. And again, with this primary fire, the Goblin Sparks, the bombs, whatever you want to say, that's enough area denial, I feel, as it is. This gas bomb would kind of be good to keep people off point. And while it wouldn't be crazy damage, I do think it would definitely be enough to incentivize people to get off the point, or at least back them off of whatever area you don't want them going into. His second ability, and this kind of plays into his passive here, this would be his glider thruster. It would be 4 charges on a cooldown. Boost in whichever direction of your choosing. Bumping into any surfaces would kill your momentum though. So again, this would encourage that skill-based, practicing the goblin, making sure that you get your momentum down, making sure that you know how to, again, fly like the goblin would essentially. He does these things where he dives consistently, or he'll dive back down to get some momentum, then he'll come back up. And I think that's kind of a fun mechanic to incorporate in this, because again, the verticality is really there in Rivals, but I think giving this character kind of a handicap might, again, just make it more fun. But ultimately that would play into the passive too, with those blades coming out and pushing people around whenever you do activate the thruster, giving you the chance to get in close if you did want to, or if you did see a straggler or a kill that you could potentially pick off. That does give you the opportunity to, have some more melee options with that thruster there, and kind of just getting closer or back off if you need to. And lastly, for his ultimate, I have something called Unstable Formula. The Goblin would inject himself with an experimental serum. He would gain 400 shield that's constantly draining, and he would become stun or CC immune. It would target and grab one of the enemy teammates, dealing damage with the glider when picking them up and stunning them, having full control over where to take them for about 4 seconds before the ultimate wears off. So this kind of just plays into his character that much more, because again, Goblin is consistently running around grabbing people. I'll throw some examples on screen right here. But he's always doing this, and the fact that, again, he has that signature lap, I think that'd be of course the voice line whenever he does activate his ult, just have that huge cackle. That way, again, it just plays into his character so well, and it incentivizes and mixes up the play style for the character. That way you're not constantly, just zoning the entire match. You do have your ultimate that you're building up to, where you want to try to swing in and grab somebody. You want to try to displace someone. And maybe this could play into it if they're a tank, maybe they don't move as fast. But I think that just giving him that ability to grab anybody, kind of move them around the match, around the map wherever he needs to, wherever, the team can jump them. Again, that's just very in character for Goblin. I was debating having this so he could grab his teammates as well with maybe another skill, but I think saving it for an ultimate, that way he's not just a human, cart just moving people around the entire match. I think this is kind of better. It doesn't delegate him to that role of moving around, and it's kind of more of a support ultimate more than anything. Yeah, it would do damage. Yeah, it would give you that overshield there, but again, it does tick down constantly. It does incentivize you. Yeah, go in, do something. And again, you become stun immune, you have your blades out while you're doing this, so you're going to do a little bit of damage when you pass through. But again, you're not wanting to hang out. The ultimate goal of this ultimate, I guess you could say, isn't for you to go around and just start doing damage like crazy. You can, but that's not the optimal use of it. The optimal use is get in, grab somebody, take them back, essentially like Goblin usually does whenever he's grabbing people. It's kind of funny. And then here at the end, I do just have team-ups and then possible team-ups. For the team-up, I think we could have something called Spider Seekers. They'd kind of be in line with his Razor Bats, those blades that he uses in the Raimi movies, and then he uses them consistently in comics also. This could activate whenever he's teamed up with somebody who is from the Spider-Verse, Penny, Venom, Spider-Man, just for starters, Miles if he gets in. So this would gain an extra throwable projectile on a cooldown, small bladed Razor Bats that would seek out targets and cause damage, hovering around them and causing constant ticks. So kind of a swarm thing, but it would deal damage not in an AoE, but maybe to one target at a time, kind of like swarm around them constantly, and just, again, kind of annoy them in the area. If they pass by somebody else, maybe they dissipate after, you get far enough away. I didn't really think this one over too much. I think he's kind of difficult to work with team-ups on, but again, the Rivals devs, they've cooked so far with all the team-ups they've done. They've done some really outlandish ones, and I think, again, this is just something I'm throwing out there. And then here for possible team-ups for future characters that might get added in, I have Carnage, Sentry, and Ares, just because he did serve on the Dark Avengers with them for a while. Carnage, not so much, but again, he does have ties with Carnage. So I think it'd be, again, just possible team ups with them would be awesome down the line. Maybe something along the lines of what Spidey has with Venom, just because Norman did have a time where he was bonded with the Carnage symbiote. So I think maybe something along those lines would be really cool. Maybe something like what Spidey gets, but again, reusing concepts. I don't know if that's the Marvel Rivals devs team style or if that's something that they kind of want to stay away from. But either way, I think Carnage, Sentry, Ares, if you want to do other Dark Avengers, you could look into maybe if they add another version of Venom. But again, I don't think that that's something that they'll be looking to do most likely. And as for outfits, again, just throwing these out, I got the Ultimate Goblin outfit would definitely be a banger, but I think the more immediate option that everybody would look to is the Sam Raimi Green Goblin, that Willem Dafoe one. And again, I can't blame them. It's just such a good look. It's the one that people were usually introduced to Goblin with, and it's just a good suit overall. I don't blame them. You could do the No Way Home one if you did want to incorporate some of the newer MCU stuff, and I know they're trying to do that, but I think his Raimi look is just a lot better. I think they kind of downgraded when they lost the helmet there. Maybe if they had it in the last battle, then it would look better with, the torn hoodie and everything, but I digress. Either way, I think the Raimi outfit is also a banger, but the Ultimate Goblin is also definitely a good one, because I know they're trying to incorporate newer comic stuff too. So yeah, just wanted to throw some ideas out there. Just a little off-the-cuff video. I didn't want to do too much editing on this one. I have some photos and stuff in the background, but I'm going to be looking to do more like this. I want to do definitely a lot more characters. I have Drax in mind. I have Daredevil. I have Falcon, the Joaquin Torres version. But either way, I'm working on those. If you guys got any other ideas for any other Rivals characters you want to see, again, I love throwing these together, and they're super fun. I could talk about this kind of stuff all day. But yeah. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever helps on whatever platform this ends up on. Peace.